I have 2 or 3 videos on YouTube that talk about the fluid leaks on these older Mercedes diesel automatic transmission. This covers diesels, gas, right from the early 80s right up into the 90s. And as these leaks start occurring, they're not expensive to fix, but they can be very frustrating. The parts, the seals might be very cheap, but sometimes the labor is not. So when talking about fixing leaks on your automatic transmission, I highly recommend you do it yourself. It can get very, very expensive. Well, I call this, this week is Automatic Transmission Week at Mercedessource. We've been taking a number of automatic transmissions apart. I'm currently filming a sequence on how to get the Bowden cable removed and replaced, and changing some other O-rings that are common leak problems on these. But in this one, I want to talk about a leak problem that is cropping up from the shift shaft right here. There's a little seal in behind there. And when that seal hardens up, you start getting transmission fluid weepage right out the bottom of the shaft, coming right down the pan. And this one is not as easy as some of the others. But since I've already got this transmission almost torn apart, I want to show you how you gain access to that seal. So if you ever have to change it, at least you'll know what you're up against. Getting the shaft out is a requirement to replace the seal, and it's not as difficult as you would think, particularly if the transmission is out of the car. And once you get the pan off, right there, you can start looking, you can follow the shaft. The shaft, see it's moving the primary rod going into the valve body. And right down in here is a hex bolt. If we're able to get to that hex bolt, notice we don't have to remove the valve body. We don't have to remove any other parts. But let's get on that bolt. We'll remove that bolt and we'll see how easy it is to get the shaft out of this transmission case. This is a 5mm hex wrench. And the bolt comes straight out. If you can't get a hold of it by hand, you can reach in there with a pair of needle nose to pull the bolt out. There's your bolt. If you take a flat blade screwdriver and just pry behind the shift lever up against the housing, you can see it starting to move, but it's under quite a bit of pressure. So if you stop and look right here, that is a spring-loaded roller bearing right there that holds the notch in place. That's what locks it into a set gear. So I'm going to remove this spring. That'll allow me to remove the pressure. I think I can probably get the rod out, but it's going to be impossible to get it back in when it's under this much pressure. This whole spring is only held on with one 10mm bolt. You can see how it comes out. Now it's kind of twisted against that pin. You'll need a flat blade screwdriver to get in behind and remove that. There you can see the spring and the roller right there. Now you have no tension against that shaft, and you can just use that screwdriver to just pry the shaft right out of the side of the transmission housing. And there it is. And I'm looking right here and I'm thinking, uh-oh, I still can't see the seal. This is the hole where we removed the shaft, and you can see I still can't see the seal in there, so we're going to have to remove this neutral safety switch. It's held in place with 2 10mm head bolts. All right, now you can see the seal. Look at that right there. See that? Typical lip seal. That can be popped out with a seal removal tool, and the new one can be tapped in place with the appropriate size socket or a seal installation tool right there. So you can see that's not a hard seal to replace, is it? Unless, once I remove the seal, putting it back on the shaft, I can see just how loose it is. It really wasn't providing much of a seal at all. So what do you think the challenge is? The challenge is getting the shaft out with the transmission in the car. You're going to have the transmission tunnel sitting right here. There may be a car that you might be able to get one of the S-Class models if you drop the transmission down, but in most cases you will have to remove the transmission to change this shift shaft seal. So just a word to the wise, anytime you have the transmission out, you're working on it, I highly recommend that you change this little seal right here.